but experts and industry players are this afternoon raising red flags over what they say is dire times for investments in Ghana. They say the recently concluded domestic debt exchange program and government's subsequent default on its obligations has eroded confidence in the investment space. Non-executive director at the Data Bank M Fund, Dr. Seddoh, says government must work to restore confidence in the sector. He's been speaking at the Graphic Business Tambik breakfast meeting.
This has to do with trust. And we need to appreciate the fact that we are a developing country. And not many of us are well educated. Not many of us understand the financial issues. Now, when you find yourself in this kind of situation, you want to address the trusting behaviors. And the very first one is I have to rely on somebody. So I need to rely on the financial market players. Just like when I'm sick, I go to the doctor and I want to believe that the doctor will give me the best of care. And my understanding is that the doctor should know more than I do. So that is the first line. And we need to get the people who play in that space to appreciate this fact and not be opportunistic behaviors. Number two is we have something of value, which is at risk. That is why we are engaging the people in the financial services sector. Now, if we don't have anything of value, we will not even talk to them. There is something that matters to us, and we are concerned about it. We want to get it protected. We want to get it to appreciate. That is why we engage them. And again, they don't have to abuse that. Number three is we know that we have goals, we have aspirations. We know we'll get to a point the strength to work will no longer be there, and we want to rely on our investment. We know we have children who must go to school, so we are saving money towards people going to school. So we need to engage these players to appreciate these things. Now, what you see very often is when these players put emphasis on themselves instead of the customer, then we start getting the problem. So of these three things I mentioned, the bottom of it all is that me as an investor, my success depends on the quality of decision the financial players make.
Professor of Economics, Professor Ebo Texan shares this concern as well.
But if you don't clean up the mess in your economy, that market will punish you. And what we witnessed in middle part of 2021 to 2022 was as a result of that. Because the way the money flies in, the money will fly out if investors are not too confident in the economy. And if you look at ever since COVID hit, we've had a situation where we've not kept to our fiscal consolidation efforts. And therefore, once our debt to GDP ratio went above 70%, investors began to get concerned about our ability to repay. And if you remember what happened when the 2022 budget was presented with the e-levy and the debate that went on in Parliament, don't forget that the e-levy was supposed to rake in almost 7 billion, which was going to be about 6.5% of the revenue that we were going to collect in that year. So once Parliament was struggling to pass that, it gave a clear signal to investors that Ghana was not going to be able to meet its fiscal consolidation efforts. And then the credit agencies came in, downgraded us, and the trigger started. Remember at that time, we had said we were not going to IMF.
Yeah.
But when the non-resident investors started taking out their investment in domestic bonds, and our currency was depreciating very fast, oil prices were going up, the central bank's reserves were drying up, it became clear that we needed to go to the IMF. And this debt restructuring is part of the sort of issues that we need to tackle as in furtherance of getting that support from the IMF.
Well, the Pensioners Bondholders Forum is blaming regulators for the current state. Dr. Edu Anani Entry is convener.
Without thinking, because you know that when you need your money, you will get it. Public confidence. And that is why in the objects of financial services regulation, one of the three objects is the protection of consumer of financial services. Protection. The SEC people will say investor protection. If you don't protect investors, you won't get any confidence in the market. When this DDEP issue came, I did not see any regulator performing an investor protection role. The government is an issuer of securities, and people who are holding government securities must be protected. The fact that government securities will not go through regulations for approval before issuance does not mean people who are holding that document should not be protected. How come investors were told that I will not give you any interest whatsoever for 1 year? And regulators thought that they have no role to protect that investor. Regulators must protect investors. Look at what is happening at the other side of financial services, the savings and loans and the financial houses. For some 3 years, people cannot assess their investment with some of these institutions. And the Bank of Ghana is looking at it. They don't care.
But